My name is Tarmack, and this is your game industry news wrap-up for the week of January 27th, 2018. In our title story this week, Paragon, the embattled third-person MOBA from Epic Games, is shutting down. According to an announcement by Epic, the MOBA will be closed primarily due to diminishing concurrent players. Quote, "After careful consideration and many difficult internal debates, we feel there isn't a clear path for us to grow Paragon into a MOBA that retains enough players to be sustainable. We didn't execute well enough to deliver on the promise of Paragon. We've failed you despite the team's incredibly hard work, and we're sorry." End quote. Epic is offering refunds to all players who spent money on Paragon, which is a rather stunning move in this day and age of early access failures. Paragon servers will be up until April 26th, but they did warn that as the player population drops and we get closer to that date, the gameplay experience will degrade. What is really remarkable about this situation is how Epic handled it. Open communication, full refunds. It's almost as though someone over there has a heart. This is, after all, the same reality in which Battleborn is still operational. Ubisoft is being all sneaky by sliding price increases and loot boxes into a bunch of their existing titles. The latest are changes coming to Rainbow Six Siege. Siege is going to see price increases on all versions of the game, with the notable exception of the Standard Edition, but I'll get to that in a moment. Siege is also getting paid loot boxes, which are of course just cosmetic and therefore add a phenomenal amount to the game, or something. The beautiful thing about this whole situation is just how well it worked for them. Ubisoft announced the pricing changes, which at the time included replacing the Standard Edition, which cost $40, with Advanced Edition, because words don't matter anymore, which would cost $60. The gaming community online lost their minds, as one would expect, and Ubisoft quickly removed the Advanced Edition to show that they were listening to community feedback. This is Distraction in Marketing 101. Walk back the thing you didn't care about, gain some PR points for listening, and sit back and smile as the narrative shifts away from the fact that what you really wanted was loot boxes. Apparently, Platinum Dunes, a Paramount studio involving Michael Bay, is working on a Duke Nukem movie. Very little is known about the movie thus far, though I suppose it's rather apt that a Duke Nukem movie is being made years after anyone cared about Duke Nukem. And for the actor who will star in the role, they're currently talking to WWE wrestler John Cena to play the crew-cut, cigar-smoking, aviator-wearing meatbag. On the plus side, Uwe Boll doesn't seem to be involved, so the movie might not be a complete failure right out of the gate, despite video game movies never really being good. Not sure about anyone else, but I just can't see John Cena as the Duke. A bit of a kerfuffle over copyright ownership happened in relation to an esports league event over the past few weeks. Effectively, ESL ran an esports event which draws gameplay through Dota TV, Valve's gameplay spectating service. Several channels rebroadcast the same gameplay that ESL was using for their event, and ESL submitted DMCA takedown notices as a result. ESL did, of course, put a lot of work into running the event in the first place, but the rebroadcasting streams did so through Dota TV, not just rebroadcasting the ESL stream. So some question as to whether or not they had the legal right to take down those streams arose. Valve clarified with a rather strong statement on Thursday, quote, "No one besides Valve is allowed to send DMCA notices for games streamed off of Dota TV that aren't using the broadcaster's unique content," end quote. Effectively, the simple fact that ESL ran an esports event doesn't give them exclusive license to the gameplay footage used, only to the footage that they modified and streamed themselves via commentary, selection of camera angles, logos, and such. This is obviously great for streamers who wish to do their own shows based on gameplay from Dota TV. Oh, Valve also posted something on their Facebook page, quote, "We're also still making games," end quote. So, Half-Life 3 confirmed? A new government bill in Washington state has been introduced which would require the State Gambling Commission to actually investigate loot boxes to determine if there is a connection to gambling and what the best way to regulate it would be. Quoting Kevin Ranker, one of the co-authors of the bill, "It is unacceptable to be targeting our children with predatory gambling masked in a game with dancing bunnies or something," end quote. I chose that quote because while I agree with the sentiment, it really does betray how out of touch Mr. Ranker is. I understand the penchant for defaulting to save the children rhetoric, but to me, it is merely the thumbtack on the teacher's chair to get the issue moving. Gambling isn't a problem for children, it's a problem for everyone, which is why it's regulated, and children are merely removed from the equation. Proper regulation protects those who are going to continue to engage in gambling-related activities, and frankly, resting the issue on the heads of Save the Kids hurts the dialogue. Now, if the senator could maybe look into the problem of loot boxes and not dilute it by talking about dancing bunnies or something, that would be great. If you want to see someone who actually understands the issue, albeit still focusing too much on the welfare of children for my tastes, look up some of the videos by Chris Lee of the Hawaiian House of Representatives. And our uplifting game news story of the week. Microsoft is making some welcome changes to the Xbox Game Pass, which has an Austrian retailer so upset that they're no longer going to carry the Xbox One. For those not in the know, Xbox Game Pass is a subscription system which costs $10 US a month. It's very similar to the EA Access program in that you get unlimited access to any games that are part of the program so long as your subscription is kept up to date. As of right now, the Game Pass has over 100 games included, and while many of them are legacy games, $10 a month to play a ton of old, great titles is pretty good value in my opinion for gamers. According to a blog post from Phil Spencer, the program is going to begin offering all Microsoft first-party titles on release day as part of your subscription. So if you want to play Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2, Crackdown 3, and future titles without buying the games individually, $10 a month is all you need. Notably, Gameware, the video game retailer I was talking about from Austria, has delisted all Xbox consoles as a little slap because this will certainly have an effect on retailer income. Not for GameStop though, who signed on with Microsoft to offer a $60 6-month card for Game Pass, which is odd to say the least. But sometimes even GameStop can see the writing on the used games wall. Chances are Gameware got the same offer but didn't like the terms. All in all, this is good value for gamers. Your game releases for the week of January 28th to February 3rd are as follows. Actually, let's back up since I missed last week. January 26th saw the release of Dragon Ball FighterZ on PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4. It's a 2.5D fighting game in the DBZ universe, similar in many ways to Marvel vs. Capcom. You pick a bunch of characters you can switch between during the fight, bring in temporarily to hit your opponent with some kind of seizure-inducing attack or combo, and all 3 characters on your side or the opponent's have to be KO'd to win the match. The game is very fast, has very little in the way of defensive options, and has what in my opinion can only be described as a lip service story mode. I never really watched Dragon Ball Z, so I don't know if that's par for the course. It's still fun though. Also on January 26th, Monster Hunter World hit the streets running and has been getting great reviews. It's a third-person action RPG where you hunt monsters in the world. Tiny beasts, ridiculously massive beasts, and bog-standard, physics-defying, enormous weapons. It released on Xbox One and PS4, with the PC release being delayed until autumn because of reasons. On January 30th, we'll see the release of Dissidia Final Fantasy NT, which is kind of like if Final Fantasy got together with Devil May Cry and had a threesome with Heroes of the Storm, but you weren't really sure whose kid it was at the end of the day. It's an arena fighting game with the Dissidia model of swallowing up all of your old favorite Final Fantasy characters. Frankly, the fact that there isn't a playable Moogle to fight with is really a travesty, but I do appreciate Garland from Final Fantasy I being included. Unfortunately, but not unexpectedly, it's only on the PlayStation 4. And finally, on January 31st, a nifty little indie game called Candleman releases. Candleman is a semi-side-scrolling platformer where you play a budget Lumiere who can only burn his wick for 10 seconds at a time. So of course, light is a very important mechanic, as is timing. You use the light to see where you're going, but also to activate things in the game and scare away baddies. Candleman was out on Xbox One last year around this time, but it's getting its PC release via Steam this week on the 31st. This has been your Game Industry News Wrap-Up for the week of January 27th, 2018. This week, I'll be on the Ham Radio podcast with Mr. Matty Plays, Angry Centaur Gaming, and David Martinez from Raw Fury Games. I'll post a link to where you can watch that on Twitter @Gnomecast, so follow me there if you're interested. My name is Tarmack. Thanks for watching.